What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here coming at y'all with another 2-minute drill episode. It is Thursday, May 27th. I can't even know the day. It's been a long week already, but we got some real big topics here to cover today. But first off, man, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe. Hopefully there's 100 subscribers getting their merch very soon. It's out in the mail. Let's just hope USPS isn't way behind like they've been all throughout COVID.
I will say I had a package mailed to me like 2.5 weeks ago and I still haven't gotten it. So just bear with us.
Hang tight.
Hang
tight. It's out there. I can send you all the shipping numbers if y'all want. I reached out to everyone and already let them know their packages are on the way. We announced our winners yesterday, but let me go ahead and announce them again. We've already been in contact with some of these guys. Impact 7, Bullets McGee, Bazemore, been in touch with all three of y'all. Shout out to y'all for getting me y'all stuff. We still need to hear from Jason May and David Humphreys. There was no contact info on either of y'all's YouTube channels that y'all subscribe with, so please reach out to us. Our email is on our About page on our YouTube channel and or our social media scrolling across the bottom here. You can hit us up anywhere, and we will make sure we get y'all's addresses and sizes. That way we can send y'all's merch ASAP. So make sure to hit us up very soon and go ahead and subscribe. That way y'all can enter the next giveaway at 300 subscribers. Man, we have been shooting up. They're already at like 216, man. I love y'all. I can't believe that y'all have got us that far. Road to 1K, baby, here on the Bluebloods. Let's not waste any more time, man. We got two very, very big announcements. One in terms of the NFL and Senior Bowl announcing an HBCU Combine. But first, we got to stick with the SWAC, man. We've been covering it all year. Another big transfer, man. We keep covering Jackson State's transfer, so let's get a shine to another program getting somebody big. Former LSU and Oklahoma State wide receiver and former 4-star prospect D. Anderson is headed to join the SWAC champion Alabama A&M Bulldogs. So, Brandon, he was an LSU Tiger for a few years, got suspended for the entirety of the 2019 National Championship season, played 1 year as a graduate transfer at Oklahoma State, got that COVID year of eligibility. He's headed down to Huntsville to play with the Keel Glass. I mean, this kid is a monster. I mean, let's just say he committed to LSU during his junior season in Texas. He transferred to DeSoto High School, was denied athletic eligibility. In 3 seasons at LSU, Brandon, he didn't see the field much because he got kind of caught up on the depth chart. When you were recruiting guys like Jamar Chase, very hard to see the field if you're a wide receiver when you got, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Terrence Marshall Jr., and, even Racy McMath. And, all of them boys are balling out there at LSU. 27 catches, 392 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. But he only had 12 games of action, Brandon. He really didn't see the field much at Oklahoma State. He had 6 games, only caught 1 pass. But I think he went to Alabama A&M. This is a pass-first offense. The best quarterback right now, at me, if you want to debate this, the best quarterback in the SWAC right now, Akil Glass, is down there, a finalist for the Walter Payton Award, and is going to be just a baller this year. And this wide receiving core, Brandon, was already one of the best in the SWAC. Now they add a 6'5", 6'6", depending on what you look at. So 6'6", 230 target for Glass. How big of a transfer is this for the Bulldogs, Brandon?
I'll be honest with you, Zach. It seems huge. And the stats he provided don't even really do him that much justice because 2 or 3 of those seasons he combined, he had I want to say it was 8 receptions in 3 years. In his junior year at LSU in 2018, before his suspension in 2019, he had 20 receptions for 274 yards and a touchdown. And you know what, Zach? You know what makes that even more special is that what kind of offense LSU was running at the time. They were running a pro-style offense, the opposite of pass first. They were handing the ball off for 2 downs, passing it on 3rd down, and then punting on 4th down. That's all they were doing. Then he goes to Oklahoma State. Doesn't see much action, but the potential is very obviously here, Zach. I think he might do well in the SWAC. Who's really to say? I think he has a ton of potential. Obviously coming in as a 4-star recruit, being recruited by a team like LSU, And then moving on to another team like Oklahoma State, I mean, you've played at 2 Power 5 conference teams. That's incredible. The experience you've had in these, really, it's been 5 seasons, but in these 4 seasons that you actually saw action is, I mean, that weighs a ton, especially going in to Alabama A&M, this team that has a quarterback like Akil Glass, who, like you said, it's pass first. With a quarterback like that, what else can you expect? So, I think that he'll be very valuable to Alabama A&M. What I'm most concerned about, Zach, is that suspension in 2019. There's not a lot of details that were released about it. It was a conditioning issue, is what was released. So who knows what that means? I don't know. I don't really know. So that's what I'd be most worried about here. But other than that, I mean, he's just a physical specimen. 6'6", 229. I mean, the guy is a giant. And I think he has nothing but potential. And, I mean, honestly, I think this is a good move for him as well because, what's the downside to this?
No, I don't think there is one. I mean, you get the best quarterback, arguably in the SWAC and arguably a top 5 quarterback in the entire FCS right now. And you get to play under an offensive-minded head coach in Condo Maynard, who's isn't going to take any crap. So if that behavioral issue pops back up again at Alabama A&M, I don't think Maynard is going to have any, I guess, hesitation to let him go on down the road. I don't think he's going to let him break down the culture. So I think he committed knowing Maynard is going to keep him on the straight and narrow. I don't think he's going to be that coach that just lets him run around and do whatever he wants. But, I mean, you look at what they already have at wide receiver, Brandon. I think it's Zabrian Moore, Abdul Ibrahim. I mean, they got Hilaire out there. They got Brian Jenkins Jr. I mean, all these guys were top wide receivers in the SWAC. And I think our guys over at HBCU Game Day said that they already thought they had the best wide receiving core in the SWAC. And now they add this kid who is one of the highest rated players that they're bringing in on their roster. And like you said, Brandon, he got, I think the depth chart thing kind of buried him at LSU. He was kind of carving himself out a role in 18 and could have set him up for a very good 19. And then he shoots himself in the foot with the conditioning issue. So who knows what he could have been in 19. I don't know how much better he could have made him. Really?
He could have, because you know who those starting wide receivers would have been that season? Because Terrace Marshall Jr. was hurt for most of the season. It would have been Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and D. Anderson. That's incredible. And Zach,
a whole lot of single coverage he missed out on.
Oh, God. Now, I'll also say this, Zach. I don't want people to look at this headline and be like, wow, what a step back for D. Anderson. What a time it is to move on to FCS football, to move into the SWAC, to move into this conference that is getting a ton of spotlight right now, to move to an HBCU team. HBCUs are getting a ton of spotlight as far as football goes right now. I don't know that this is really a step back at all, and I think that's something that a lot of people may say. It's not a step back. I mean, you're getting the same amount of media attention you would if you were playing for Oklahoma State still, and you might be getting more because you weren't really playing at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and I'm ready for that. This just makes me even more ready for that Jackson State Alabama A&M game. Zabrian Moore, Ibrahim, Hilaire, Jenkins, now Anderson versus Shiloh Sanders, Dejon Warren, all of them boys out there in Jackson State in the defensive back room. It is going to be a war in that game, and I am so pumped for it. I mean, Brandon, I think for me, this kind of pushes them over the top. They have the best wide receiving core in the SWAC right now. By far, they have the most talented wide receiver, and I think if there was ever a year Akil Glass was going to go out and win the Peyton Award and be a contender for an All-America spot, this has to be the year, man. There's no doubt he has the weapons to go and do it now.
In my honest opinion, I think he should have won it last year. I really do. That kid from Southeastern, meh. He's good, but Akil had a crazy season.
I mean, so I got to ask you. So I've been watching my boy Scotty's, live streams and anything. There's a lot of people who, man, no one's talking about them. All I hear is Florida A&M this, Jackson State this, Southern this. Like, can we put a little bit of respect on Alabama A&M's name? guys, please? Like for me,
Yes, we need to. I also would probably maybe I just haven't heard enough about Southern. Let's get that. Let's get some more talk going there. Everyone knows I ride or die with Southern, so let's
yeah,
do more.
Mark, you missed the show yesterday. It was all about Southern. Southern's a powerhouse, according to some people.
What do you want me to say? They are
A powerhouse, man. Listen, I think right now, honestly, like if you looked at like the teams going into next year, yes, I get it. On paper, Jackson State looks like the best team. I'm not going to argue with you. And listen, I had started doing this because of Jackson State. So, like, a part of me is still a Jackson State guy. But how many times have we seen the paper lie to us?
a lot.
It's that abusive ex-girlfriend that says she's going out with her friends, but you know she's at your buddy's house.
Oh my God.
You gotta stop believing everything you read, man. That text is a lie. So listen, I think Jackson State would be 1. 2 for me, honestly, is probably Alcorn. They didn't play last year. They've really been the powerhouse of the SWAC. And then 3, I'm putting Alabama A&M.
Yeah.
And then Florida A&M probably would be next. That kid they got, I believe it's the same school. They got that kid coming from Kansas State. He's a baller, and I'm ready to see what he does. And then you probably put Southern at 5 if you want. But I just don't understand why Alabama A&M keeps getting overlooked like there's some bombs.
That's crazy. It really is. Now that you say that, because they just won the SWAC. What else do you want? They're coming off of this championship season, or not the national championship, but
they claimed the HBCU national championship.
Well, yeah, they claimed that, but it's not the FCS national championship.
Oh, not the FCS. They finished, I think, 19th in the coaches poll, if I remember right.
Yeah, but I mean, they're coming off of this crazy season, and then people are just like, "Oh yeah, no, Jackson State, who had a 500 season last year, they're the ones." What?
Hey, I mean, they're the ones on paper. I get it, but I think Jackson State, Southern was ranked in the final poll. They might be ranked to start the season. I think Alabama A&M should be ranked, maybe Florida A&M, but I'm really interested to see if the HBCUs, the SWACs, get the respect in the FCS poll to start the season. We saw Jackson State get ranked after week 3, then they kind of fell off that cliff. But I'm very interested to see the respect they get. But right now, I think this is a huge pickup for Alabama A&M, and I really think he'll play a role in terms of that offense. But Brandon, we got a big storyline here to cover. Has to do with our hometown too. Mobile, Alabama, the Senior Bowl, and the NFL all partnered up to introduce the new HBCU Combine. It will be this upcoming January, the week, I believe Brandon said the week before the Senior Bowl. It'll be occurring over 2 days. They're all going down to Mobile, Alabama. Everyone knows that's where me and Brandon were born and raised, Mobile, Alabama. That's where we went to high school, everything. Well, Brandon wasn't born. Brandon grew up in Mobile. I was born in Mobile. But players from all 4 HBCU conferences, Brandon, the CIAA, the MEAC, the SIAC, and the SWAC, along with other HBCU schools, will be invited to the University of South Alabama for this event. This is going to be this is going to be a combine strictly for HBCU athletes to get, medical information, football personnel to collect all this pre-draft information, get these kids in front of scouts' eyes, executives' eyes, GMs, head coaches, and it will all be in Mobile right in front, right before the Senior Bowl, where everyone's going to be to watch, the best of the best do it. Troy Vincent, NFL VP of Football Operations, said the HBCU Combine is part of honoring that legacy and making every effort to accelerate exposure of HBCU draft prospects to all NFL clubs. So, Brandon, this also goes along with the Black Football Hall of Fame's announcement back in March that we covered, that they're going to have an HBCU legacy game, that all-star game that's going to showcase the best NFL draft eligible talent from HBCUs. And that'll be taking place at Tulane, February 2022. Brandon, your thoughts on this announcement, and do you think it is going to take any steps to solve this problem that we saw this year where 0 HBCU players were drafted?
Absolutely, Zach. I mean, it has to, right? Because, I mean, if nothing else, it's going to give these players exposure. I mean, think about all of the talent that we've seen come out of HBCU programs, Zach. I mean, we're talking about guys like Steve McNair, who went to Alcorn State. We're talking about guys like Shannon Sharp, who went to Savannah State. We're talking about guys like Michael Strahan at Texas Southern. All these guys that went to these HBCU. Walter Payton went to Jackson State, for God's sakes. Like, we see a ton of talent come out of HBCUs, man. And I imagine the guys who aren't getting the exposure who could definitely be on NFL rosters, and like some of the guys I've just mentioned could potentially be in the Hall of Fame one day. But we don't see that kind of exposure for the HBCU. I think mostly in part to them being in the FCS rather than FBS, a lot of these schools. But I mean, other than that, we don't see the same opportunities there, right? And so this was super cool to me when I got this email this morning from Dave Rogers over the Senior Bowl. You know, he sent this over to me, or over to a bunch of people, but to me too. You know, me and him, we're just tight. Nah, but he sent it to I think the media who've been to the Senior Bowl, and you know, this whole announcement. The second I saw it, I screenshot it and sent it to Zach. I was like, dude, this is like the coolest thing I've seen. Yeah, Zach, it's crazy to me that no players from HBCUs were drafted this season. Maybe, you know, benefit of the doubt, maybe that was their season was so late and whatever else. I doubt it. It's mostly because of this exposure issue, right? So hopefully this helps to solve that. I can't wait to go. I mean, Zach and I are applying for passes the second they come out, and we will be there. Like even if we just sneak in, we're going to be there.
Yeah, guys, we cover the Senior Bowl every year because it's in our hometown. We get media credential passes the past 2 years, so we're going to go down there and cover this event. So we'll have a bunch of exclusive content. We're going to try to get some interviews with some of the top prospects. So if you are in this for HBCU football, you watch us for our coverage of that, make sure to subscribe now for that. But, man, so I don't think it's the end-all, be-all to solve the issue, if that makes sense, Brandon. But it's at least a step in the right direction. It's like, I mean, Bucky Brooks put it the best he could on Twitter. He was like, you know, at least someone like, you know, Jim Nagy is taking a step to try to solve an issue that a lot of people just kind of seem to ignore. Like, yes, everyone who covers HBCU football talked about this, but I mean, did y'all see any ESPN coverage of this?
No.
Fox Sports? 247 Rivals.
I will say also that Jim Nagy has been doing things like this in the past where he will invite players, like several players from HBCU programs. Like you'll see all these big name players from across FBS football, and then you'll see players from HBCUs. I mean, think about it. The Senior Bowl's in Mobile, Alabama. I think the state of Alabama has the most HBCUs in the country. I want to say there's like 17 in Alabama. It's something like that. And
there's definitely a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, good on Jim Nagy for that, first and foremost. But to take this extra step, man, like you said, it's not the end all. It's not the be all, whatever you said. That one
the end all be all.
End all be all. I live in Louisiana. We don't speak English here. It's mostly French. But no, it's super cool to see this step taken.
Yeah, you see, like, so for me, like, I think it's good that you're going to almost force these GMs, these executives to watch these players. Now, I think the next step is for more HBCU players to be invited to the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's great. But, yes, and, you know, there were the guys who got invited to the Senior Bowl this year from HBCUs put on great performances, but – and apparently it didn't matter. So now if we combine the HBCU Combine with the, you know, Black Hall of Fame game that they're putting on in Louisiana, the All-Star game, and you combine it with more HBCU players getting to go up against those FBS players that, you know, get all the shine, get all the attention, I think that really helps. I mean, what happens to Akil Glass's draft stock? I'm sorry we use him as an example a lot. He was on the show, good friend of the show. That's our guy. But we can even go Shadur Sanders when he comes out. How much bigger will his draft stock be if he can go down there and he lights up DBs from LSU, from Alabama, from Oklahoma, from Oregon, all this stuff, and he throws for 200-300 yards on them?
Yeah. I mean,
because the main argument I hear from people who are uneducated about the issue is like, man, they don't have any competition down there. Like, we didn't see them play nobody. Like, what happens when so and so goes and plays at Alabama? What happens? It's like, that's an unfair comparison because it's a team sport. And Alabama has recruited 5 stars for 8 years under Nick Saban, and there's 5 stars on every single position. But that doesn't mean that these guys can't go succeed at the next level. And you listed some of the names that are Hall of Famers and or going to be Hall of Famers in the NFL. I just think it gets not only more eyes on these players, but it just gives them an opportunity to go down there and not only perform in front of these scouts and GMs, talk to them, make those personal connections, show them what type of player they're getting. Listen, I have no doubt that if you get some of these players in front of executives, get them, ask the right questions, that there's not going to be a huge influx of HBCU talent into the NFL. And listen, I'll be honest, this was one of our first years covering this, HBCU football, FCS football. And I have been shocked at how the quality of athlete, just the competitiveness, the everything about it is just addicting. And like, this is why we're going to continue covering it. And I just feel like like Brandon said, once that exposure goes up, I think it's just a matter of time. And I don't think this should be the last step. I think they should start inviting more HBCU players to the Senior Bowl. I think that there needs to be more steps taken. I don't know exactly what all of them are. And, we're in the works to getting Scotty on the show from Off Script. I want to talk to him about this too. Is like, what are some of the next steps that you guys want to see? What are some of the steps that HBCU coaches and players want to see? Like, how can we all come together and make this a mute issue moving into the future?
Right. I mean, it's just, I don't know. To me, it was super cool to see this happen. I know I keep saying that, but this is such a cool step they're taking.
Absolutely. I'm excited to go down there and cover it, man. I am so pumped for some of these players to get the shine that they deserve. And I think that, it's never been a better time. I think, you got to credit Dion and Kano Maynard and all these guys, all the fans and media that have been outspoken about this issue that it really drove real change this time. And I keep hoping that it's going to drive real change when it comes into April and we get into that draft. Because, we've seen first-round picks. Titus Jackson out of Alabama State gets drafted by the Texans first round a few years back. I would love to see. If it's the talent's there, anyone who tells me, I'm just going to be honest with you, anyone who comes in our comments, hits us up in real life and says, man, y'all don't know what y'all are talking about, the talent differential is too big, I automatically know they're ignorant about the topic and they aren't educated enough about it, because there's plenty of first-round talent at the HBC level. DeJon Warren, that guy deserves to be a top first to third round pick in the NFL. Akil Glass is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the draft. You got the kid, I'm blanking on his name. It's like Jaja Martin out of I forget the school, but the running back that averaged 9.5 yards to carry. I'd love to see him in there. There's some wide receivers. There's some D linemen. There's so many people. Jordan Lewis at Southern is definitely a guy that deserves an NFL shot. And I thought David Moore last year in the draft for Grambling deserved a shot. This dude had a third to fourth round NFL draft grade by Pro Football Focus and didn't get drafted.
Yeah.
What? Joe Burrow's sitting there getting sacked 55 times a game, and you're telling me that they couldn't have used any offensive line help?
It's insane.
It's wild.
People forget Jerry Rice went to an HBCU.
They need Jerry Rice. Mississippi Valley is down bad right now.
They are down incredible, Zach. Who else? There's one more guy I'm thinking of at least. I know Mel Blount went to Southern.
Yeah.
There's just a ton of talent there, guys, and I don't understand why there's not a platform already and why these schools are overlooked, but they are, and that's just the way things are, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to change. It's changing now. I think it changes when more people like us cover HBCU sports and these teams and highlight these players and interview them and give them the shine. So I'm hoping that we can inspire more change, man. But guys, comment below if you're here. If you're here from Alabama A&M, what do y'all think about D. Anderson? How much does it help the wide receiving core, help Akil Glass, and really help Alabama A&M going into this next season? And what do y'all think about this new HBCU Combine? Do you think it's going to help the issue at all? Do you think it's going to hurt? I want to hear what y'all think. And I also want y'all to comment below what y'all think the next steps are in terms of fixing this NFL draft problem in terms of HBCU athletes. So comment below and let us know. And as always, guys, we'll be back tomorrow with another 2-minute drill episode. But for your boy B-Dub, for myself, the 2-minute drill, and the Blue Bloods, guys, we are out.